The red dust swirled around Marcus's feet as he stepped out of the excavation vehicle. Even through his protective suit, he could feel the bitter cold of what remained of Earth. His team had spent 3 months digging through the ruins of the ancient human civilization, and today's readings were different from anything they had seen before. Reed, his alien research partner, moved carefully beside him. Her crystalline form caught the dim sunlight, creating small rainbows on the ground. "The energy signature is strongest here," she said, her translator making her musical language understandable. "Whatever the humans left behind, it's deep underground." They stood at the foot of what was once called the Rocky Mountains, now just sharp, worn spires reaching into the rust-colored sky. Their dig site had already revealed countless human artifacts, but most were broken or too damaged to be useful. This reading was different. It suggested something preserved, protected. The rest of their archaeological team worked efficiently to set up the drilling equipment. They were all experts from different worlds, chosen by the Galactic Federation for their skills in uncovering lost civilizations. Humans had become something of a mystery in the galaxy. How had such a young species reached so far, achieved so much, and then vanished so completely? Marcus checked his scanner again. 400 meters down, he said. The reading suggests some kind of bunker. He watched as the drilling machine hummed to life, its energy beam cutting through rock and dirt with surgical precision. "What do you think we'll find this time, Reed?" Reed's crystalline fingers danced over her own equipment. Something different. The energy pattern. It's artificial, but it's still active. After 40,000 years, that should be impossible. The drill stopped suddenly, having hit something solid. Marcus's heart beat faster as the team carefully cleared away the remaining debris. A dark metal surface emerged from the red earth, its surface unmarked by time or weather. Ancient human writing was etched into its surface, still perfectly legible. "Do you recognize the symbols?" Reed asked, her form glowing slightly with excitement. Marcus nodded. "It's one of their primary languages. English." He ran his gloved hand over the metal. "It says Emergency Bunker 23. Authorized personnel only." It took them hours to find the entrance mechanism. When they finally did, the door opened with surprising ease, as if it had been waiting for them. Cool, stale air rushed out. Their lights revealed a corridor leading deeper underground, its walls made of the same dark, pristine metal. "This shouldn't exist," one of the team members said. "Everything else we found has been ruined by time. This looks new." Marcus took the lead, with Reed close behind. Their footsteps echoed in the ancient hallway. The air inside was breathable. Another impossibility. Emergency lights flickered to life as they walked, responding to their presence. The humans had somehow kept this place powered and preserved for 40 millennia. The corridor led them to a large circular room. In its center stood a pedestal, and on that pedestal sat a small black cube, a data core, perfectly preserved. The walls were covered in screens, all dark and silent. Reed moved to the pedestal, her sensors working overtime. "This is the source of the energy signature. It's a quantum storage device, far more advanced than anything in their historical records. The humans, they wanted someone to find this." Marcus approached the cube carefully. As he did, the screens around them suddenly blazed to life. The room filled with soft blue light, and a simple interface appeared on the main screen. The team watched in awe as ancient human text began to scroll across it. "It's asking for authorization to begin data transfer," Marcus said, his voice barely a whisper. With trembling hands, he pressed his palm against the interface. The cube hummed to life. As data began streaming across the screens, Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The same word appeared over and over, in every human language they had ever discovered. A single word, repeated endlessly. "Run." Reed's crystalline form dimmed slightly. "Marcus, what did they want us to run from?" Before he could answer, the cube projected a new set of coordinates into the room's center. They pointed to somewhere much deeper in Earth's crust, far below their current position. Whatever humanity's last message was, this was just the beginning. The data core continued its endless display, that single word blinking on every screen. In the silence of the ancient bunker, surrounded by the ghosts of a dead civilization, Marcus realized they had stumbled onto something far bigger than a simple archaeological discovery. This wasn't just a remnant of humanity's past. It was a warning about something that might still threaten their future. The news of the discovery spread through the Galactic Federation like wildfire. Within days, the ancient bunker was crowded with scientists and officials from a dozen different worlds. Marcus watched as they argued over the meaning of humanity's message, their voices echoing off the metal walls. Reed stayed close to the data core, her crystalline form pulsing with soft light as she studied the endless stream of warnings. "There's something hidden in the pattern," she said, calling Marcus over. "The word 'run' isn't just repeated randomly. It's encoded with more data." The Federation's Science Council had set up a temporary base around the bunker entrance. The red dust of Earth's surface swirled against the dome of their environmental shields, creating eerie shadows that danced across the ancient human facility. "The coordinates," Marcus said, looking at the holographic display. "They point to something about 20 miles deeper. Whatever's down there, the humans went to incredible lengths to protect this message about it." He zoomed in on the map, showing a massive cavity in the Earth's crust. One of the council members, a tall being with silver skin named Tom, approached them. "We can't ignore this," he said, "but we also can't rush in blindly." Humanity was known for their extreme solutions to problems. The room fell quiet as the main screen flickered, showing new information. Reed's crystals flashed with excitement. "It's opening another data packet." The screens filled with images, old human cities, their civilization at its peak. Then, frame by frame, those same cities empty, abandoned, not destroyed, but deliberately evacuated. "They left," Marcus whispered. "The history books always said humans destroyed themselves in war or by damaging their planet. But look at these images. They left their cities standing. They chose to go somewhere." The data core projected a timeline into the center of the room. It showed humanity's final years, a mass migration underground, the construction of massive facilities, and then nothing. Just the message: "Run." Tom studied the projection with all four of his eyes. "The council needs to vote on this. If we follow these coordinates, we're committing significant resources. And if this is a weapon—" "It's not a weapon," Reed interrupted. Her crystal structure had turned a deep blue, showing her certainty. "Look at the power readings. This facility, these coordinates, they're not military installations. The energy signatures suggest something else. Something bigger." More officials crowded around as Reed worked. The data core responded to her queries, showing more images. Underground chambers larger than cities. Strange machines that seemed to bend space itself. And always that warning: "Run." Marcus noticed something in the corner of one image. "Wait," he said. "Enhance that section." The screen zoomed in on what looked like writing carved into a wall. It was different from the warning. Longer, more detailed. As the computer translated it, a chill ran through the room. "We contained it, but the seals will not last forever. To those who find this, you have time, but not much. When you see the signs, do not hesitate as we did. Run." The council chamber erupted in debate. Some wanted to seal up the bunker and forget they'd ever found it. Others demanded immediate exploration of the deeper coordinates. Through it all, Marcus and Reed stayed focused on the data core, trying to understand what humanity had been so afraid of. "Look at these readings," Reed said quietly to Marcus. "The power source for this facility. It's like nothing we've ever seen. It's been running for 40,000 years, and it's not even at half capacity. Humanity had technology we never knew about." Tom returned, his silver skin reflecting the glow of the screens. "The council has voted. We're going to explore the coordinates." He looked at Marcus and Reed. "And they want you two to lead the expedition. You found this place. Whatever humanity was trying to tell us, they wanted it found by people who would understand." As the others filed out to begin preparations, Marcus stayed behind, watching the endless warnings scroll across the screens. Humanity had gone to extraordinary lengths to leave this message. They had built something that would last tens of thousands of years, using technology beyond anything in their historical records, all to leave one simple command: run. Whatever waited for them at those coordinates, Marcus knew one thing for certain. They were about to discover why an entire civilization had chosen to disappear. And part of him wondered if they were ready for the answer. The drilling machine hummed deeply as it carved through the Earth's crust. Marcus checked the depth gauge for the 100th time. 15 miles down and still going. Behind him, in the massive transport vehicle, Reed and 3 other team members monitored their descent through layers of rock that hadn't seen light in millions of years. "The tunnel walls are different here," Reed said, her crystalline form glowing softly in the dim light. "Look at the scoring marks. Something carved these tunnels before us, long ago." The beam from their headlights showed smooth, circular patterns in the rock that couldn't be natural. Tom, who had insisted on joining the expedition, studied the readings on his screen. "The humans dug these tunnels, but our records show they didn't have this kind of drilling technology." He paused, his silver skin reflecting the control panel's lights. "There's so much we didn't know about them." The transport shuddered as it passed through another layer of rock. Their path followed the ancient tunnel system, which grew larger as they descended. The walls changed from rough stone to worked metal, then to something else, a dark, smooth material that seemed to drink in their lights. 5 more miles, Marcus announced. The air felt heavier now, despite their environmental systems. The tunnel network is expanding. These aren't just passages anymore. They're becoming rooms, chambers. Reed's sensors beeped urgently. Energy readings are increasing. Whatever powered that data core up there, its source is getting closer. Her crystal structure vibrated slightly, responding to unseen forces. They emerged into a vast cavern that their lights couldn't fully illuminate. The transport's beams swept across massive structures, buildings that seemed to grow from the very rock, connected by bridges that spanned impossible distances in the darkness. "It's a city," Tom whispered. "They built a city down here." The transport systems identified a docking station, still functioning after 40 millennia. As they locked into place, Marcus felt a subtle vibration through the floor. Lights began to come on throughout the cavern, spreading outward like ripples in a pond. The city was waking up. "The air is breathable," Reed announced, checking her instruments. "Temperature is stable. Whatever systems the humans left in place, they're still working perfectly." She sounded impressed and slightly scared. They stepped out onto a platform that overlooked the underground city. Buildings stretched for miles in every direction, their architecture unlike anything in human records. These weren't the rectangular structures seen in the ruins above ground. These buildings curved and twisted, following patterns that seemed to defy normal geometry. "Look there," Marcus pointed to a massive structure in the center of the city. It rose higher than the others, its surface covered in swirling patterns that seemed to move in the corner of your eye. "The coordinates lead there." As they walked through the empty streets, their footsteps echoing in the ancient silence, they saw signs of how the humans had lived here. Personal belongings left carefully arranged, as if their owners expected to return. Vehicles parked in neat rows. Gardens, long dead, with tools laid out ready for the next day's work. "They didn't leave in a panic," Tom observed, running his hand over a desk in what appeared to be an office. "This was planned, organized. They took their time to move underground, set everything up. But why leave it all behind in the end?" Reed stopped suddenly, her crystals pulsing with alarm. "The energy readings, they're changing. The whole city is powered by something in that central building, but it's not just providing power, it's containing something." They reached the base of the central structure. Its entrance was marked with more warnings, but these were different from the simple command to run. These were technical instructions, calculations, and diagrams that covered the walls from floor to ceiling. It's a manual, Marcus realized, studying the markings. They left instructions for whatever's inside. But look at these equations. They're describing something impossible. Spaces between spaces, gaps in reality itself. The entrance opened at their approach, responding to their presence just as the bunker above had done. Inside, corridors stretched away in all directions, all leading inward and downward. The air hummed with power, and somewhere deep below, something pulsed like a giant heartbeat. The humans didn't just hide something down here, Reed said, her voice quiet. They built this entire city to contain it, to guard it. She turned to look at Marcus, her crystalline form dim with worry. Do we really want to find out what was so dangerous that an entire civilization chose to vanish rather than let it escape? The central chamber was massive, its ceiling lost in darkness above them. Rows of tall black pillars filled the space, each one covered in pulsing lines of light that moved like living things. Marcus touched one of the pillars, and a holographic display sprang to life in front of him. These are data archives, Reed said, her crystal form reflecting the dancing lights. The entire history of humanity's last years. Her sensors were working overtime, trying to process the flood of information. But it's not what we expected. Look at this. The display showed images of Earth as it had been. Cities gleaming under blue skies, oceans teeming with life. Then something changed. The images showed dark spots appearing in the air, like tears in the fabric of reality. The tears grew larger, and where they appeared, things began to disappear. They weren't destroyed, Tom said, his silver skin pale in the dim light. They were consumed, erased. He moved to another pillar, bringing up more records. The humans called it the Void. They discovered it by accident during their first experiments with dimensional travel. Marcus watched as more images played out. Human scientists working desperately in laboratories. Military forces fighting against something they couldn't see. Cities being evacuated as black tears in reality spread across the sky. They tried to fight it at first, Reed said, reading through the data streams. But their weapons passed right through it. You can't fight something that exists between dimensions. She paused, her crystals dimming. The void fed on consciousness itself. The more aware a species was, the more it was drawn to them. Another pillar activated, showing a different set of images. The underground city being built, massive machines being assembled. Humanity working together with a desperate purpose that transcended all their former divisions. They discovered something about the void, Marcus said, his voice tight with tension. It could be trapped, not destroyed, but contained. He brought up more technical data, scientific readings that defied normal physics. They built this facility to create a pocket dimension, a space between spaces where they could lock it away. Tom moved to the center of the room, where a circular platform rose from the floor. As he approached, it lit up, projecting a three-dimensional map of the galaxy. Red dots appeared across the map, spreading like a disease. These were the worlds it had already taken, Reed whispered. Before humanity stopped it, the void had consumed 12 civilizations. Complete extinction. No survivors. She touched the display, and the map zoomed in on Earth. They knew they were next, but they also knew they would be the last. Marcus found the final records, the last messages left by the human leaders. Their words scrolled across the displays in simple, clear text. We cannot destroy it. We cannot escape it. But we can contain it. The price will be everything we are, everything we have built. Our civilization will be forgotten, our achievements lost to time. But the galaxy will survive. The room hummed with power as more systems came online. Deep below their feet, ancient machines continued their endless work, holding the void in its prison of twisted space and bent reality. The bunker above, Reed said suddenly. The warning to run. They weren't telling us to flee from the void. Her crystals pulsed with understanding. They were telling us to run from what's about to happen. The containment field. It's failing. Tom rushed to check the readings, his multiple eyes widening in alarm. She's right. The pocket dimension is becoming unstable. After 40,000 years, the barriers are starting to break down. He looked at the others, his silver skin almost white with fear. If it escapes, then everything humanity sacrificed will have been for nothing. Marcus finished. He turned to the central platform, interfacing with the main system. More data appeared, calculations, predictions, possibilities. They knew this would happen. That's why they left all this information. They weren't just leaving a warning. They were leaving instructions. Reed joined him at the console, her crystalline hands moving over the controls. These are plans, designs for a device that could strengthen the containment field. She paused, studying the specifications. But the power requirements. It would take the energy of an entire star system to build it. The room fell silent except for the hum of ancient machines. In the darkness between the pillars, the weight of humanity's final choice pressed down on them. They had given up everything to stop the void. And now, 40,000 years later, their descendants faced the same terrible decision. Marcus looked at his companions, seeing his own realization mirrored in their faces. The warning to run hadn't been meant to save them. It had been meant to give them time to prepare for what had to be done. The archive room's lights dimmed as a new hologram filled the space. It showed Earth as it had been in humanity's final days, with swirling black tears growing in the sky like cancer. Marcus, Reed, and Tom watched in silence as the recording played out. The void didn't just eat consciousness, Reed said, her crystals pulsing with a deep blue light as she processed the data. It learned from each civilization it consumed. Every mind it took made it smarter, more dangerous. She brought up more images, showing the progression of the void's attacks across different worlds. Tom moved through the hologram, his silver skin reflecting the dark images. The first civilizations it found were primitive. It took them slowly, over hundreds of years. He gestured to another display. But by the time it reached Earth, it had devoured 12 advanced species. It could consume an entire planet in days. The central platform hummed to life, revealing the hidden chamber below. As they descended the glowing stairs, Marcus felt the air grow colder. The walls here were different, made of some black material that seemed to pull in light itself. These are containment walls, Reed explained, her sensors working overtime. The humans developed them by studying the void itself. The walls exist partially outside our dimension, creating a cage that even the void couldn't escape. She touched one of the walls, and her crystalline hand passed right through it. They reached another chamber, smaller but filled with more advanced technology. At its center stood a pillar of pure darkness, contained within rings of shifting energy. Even looking at it made their eyes hurt. A piece of the void, Marcus whispered. They kept a sample contained here. To study it, he approached the control panel, bringing up the research data. They learned that it was ancient, older than any civilization. It had been sleeping in the space between dimensions until humanity's first experiments woke it up. The sample in the pillar shifted, like black smoke trying to take shape. Reed's crystals dimmed instinctively, responding to its presence. The containment field is weakening here too. Look at these readings. The energy patterns are becoming unstable. Tom accessed another set of records, his multiple eyes scanning rapidly. They found something else. The void wasn't just consuming civilizations, it was searching for something. New images appeared, showing complex energy patterns. It was looking for a way to fully enter our dimension. If it had succeeded, everything would have ended. Marcus finished. Not just life, but reality itself in this part of the galaxy. He brought up humanity's final records. They discovered that the void could be trapped, but not destroyed. It existed in too many dimensions at once. The only solution was to lock it away forever. Reed moved to another console, her crystal form casting rainbow patterns on the dark walls. The humans built this facility using technology they reverse-engineered from the void itself. They created a pocket dimension, a space that exists nowhere and everywhere at once. She paused, studying the readings. But maintaining it required incredible power. They had to sacrifice their entire civilization's energy network to power the containment field. Alarms suddenly blared through the chamber. The sample in the pillar writhed more violently, its darkness seeming to reach out toward them. Tom rushed to check the readings, his silver skin pale with worry. "The containment field is failing faster than we thought," he said. "We don't have years. We barely have months." He brought up a galaxy map, showing spreading patterns of dimensional instability. "When it breaks free, the void will be stronger than ever. 40,000 years of hunger, 40,000 years of hatred for the ones who trapped it." Marcus stared at the sample, watching it twist and turn in its prison. Humanity knew this would happen. They couldn't build a permanent solution with the technology they had. He turned to the others, his face grim in the dark light. "But they left us everything we need to finish what they started. The question is, are we willing to pay the same price they did?" Reed's crystals pulsed with determination. They sacrificed their entire civilization to give the galaxy a chance. They didn't run from the void. They ran toward the only solution, no matter the cost. She looked at the writhing darkness in the pillar. "Now we have to decide if we're worthy of their sacrifice." The alarms continued to echo through the ancient chamber as the three of them stood before humanity's last guardian, watching as the seals that had protected the galaxy for 40,000 years slowly began to fail. The Federation Council chamber was packed with representatives from every major species in the galaxy. The holographic displays showed the ancient human facility, the containment field readings, and most importantly, the sample of the void still twisting in its prison. Marcus stood before them, his voice steady as he delivered the news that none of them wanted to hear. "The containment field will fail within 3 months," he said, pointing to the degrading energy patterns. "When it does, the void will break free, and it will be angry." The chamber erupted in frightened whispers and angry shouts. Reed stepped forward, her crystal form glowing bright enough to catch everyone's attention. "The humans left us a solution, a way to strengthen the containment field permanently." She brought up the technical specifications, but the cost. She hesitated, knowing what her next words would mean. "The cost," Tom continued, his silver skin reflecting the holographic displays, "is the complete energy output of an entire star system. Not just the star, every planet, every station, every piece of technology. All of it converted to pure energy to power the new containment field." The chamber fell silent. The Federation had many star systems, but none they could simply abandon. Each one held millions of lives, centuries of history, countless irreplaceable achievements. An elder council member stood up, his scaled skin dark with age. "How do we know this will even work? The humans tried to contain this thing, and they failed." "They didn't fail," Marcus said firmly. "They bought us time. 40,000 years of time. And they left us better technology than they had." He showed them the human designs, upgraded with modern innovations. "We can make the containment permanent, but we have to act now." More council members spoke up, some arguing for evacuation of the entire galaxy, others demanding they try to find another solution. Through it all, the display showed the void sample writhing in its cage, growing more violent with each passing hour. Reed accessed another set of records, showing them the void's path of destruction before humanity stopped it. 12 civilizations gone, not just dead, erased completely. No ruins, no artifacts, no trace they ever existed. Her crystals pulsed with emotion. The humans knew they would be next, but they chose to fight instead of run. They sacrificed everything to give us a chance. One of the younger council members, her wings shimmering with anxiety, spoke up. "The central system. It's the only one that could provide enough power." The chamber grew quiet again. The central system was the Federation's heart, their most populated, most advanced region of space. 10 billion lives, Tom said quietly. That's how many would need to be evacuated. 10 billion people leaving their homes, their history, everything they've built. He looked around the chamber. But if we don't, then everyone dies. The void won't stop at one system this time. It's had 40,000 years to grow stronger, to plan its revenge. Marcus brought up one final image, Earth as it had been, beautiful and blue, before the void came. Humanity made their choice. They didn't run from the hard decision. They ran toward it, because it was the only way to save everyone else. He looked at each council member in turn. Now it's our turn to choose. The debate raged for hours. Some argued it was too great a price. Others said they had no right to sacrifice so many lives. But as the arguments continued, the readings from Earth grew worse. The containment field was failing faster than predicted. Finally, the council leaders stood. The chamber fell silent, waiting for his words. The humans, he said slowly, gave up everything to protect a galaxy full of species they had never even met. They chose to be forgotten heroes rather than let the void consume everyone. He looked at the voting display. We will not dishonor their sacrifice. We will not let their great deed be in vain. One by one, the council members cast their votes. The decision was made. The central system would be evacuated, its energy harnessed to power the new containment field. 10 billion people would become refugees, but the galaxy would survive. As the council chamber emptied, Marcus, Reed, and Tom stood looking at the final image from Earth's last days. A human city, beautiful and gleaming, about to be abandoned forever. In the sky above it, a small dark tear had just begun to appear. They ran toward danger to save everyone else. Reed said softly, "Now we do the same." The evacuation of the central system moved faster than anyone thought possible. Faced with extinction, people worked together in ways they never had before. Ships filled the space lanes, carrying billions to safety while engineers and scientists worked frantically to convert the system's energy into something that could power the containment field. Marcus stood in the ancient human control room, watching as Reed and Tom made the final adjustments to their upgraded version of humanity's device. The sample of the void twisted more violently now, as if it knew what they planned. The last transport ships will clear the system in 6 hours, Tom reported, his silver skin dim with exhaustion. The energy collectors are at 98% capacity. Around them, the human facility hummed with power it hadn't felt in 40,000 years. Reed's crystals pulsed with nervous energy as she checked the readings. The containment field is down to 12% strength. We're cutting it close. She moved to another console, bringing up the status of their new containment system. But it will work. The humans' design was perfect. They just didn't have enough power to make it permanent. Through the facility's sensors, they could see the central system's sun, now surrounded by massive energy collectors that would harvest its final light. The planets had been stripped of their power, their cities dark and empty for the first time in centuries. 2 hours until the field fails completely, Marcus said, watching the countdown. The void sample was almost breaking free now, its darkness seeping through gaps in the containment field. Start the energy transfer. We can't wait any longer. The facility shuddered as power began flowing in from the central system. Lights flared brilliantly throughout the ancient human city as energy levels rose beyond anything its builders had ever seen. In the containment chamber, new fields of force began to form around the void sample. Energy transfer at 20%, Tom called out. The new containment field is forming. Above them, the central system's sun flared as the collectors began their final harvest. Planets went dark one by one as their power was drained away. Reed worked frantically at her console, her crystal form blazing with reflected energy. The old field is failing faster now. 10 minutes left at most. Her hands flew over the controls, directing the power flow. 40% transfer complete. The sample of the void suddenly broke free of its weakened prison, its darkness spreading through the chamber like living smoke. But before it could reach them, The new containment field snapped into place. The darkness screamed, a sound that existed more in their minds than in the air, as it was forced back. 60%. Tom shouted over the noise of straining machinery. The main containment field is starting to stabilize. Through the facility's sensors, they watched as the central system's sun began to dim, its life force being converted into the power they needed. Marcus activated humanity's final protocols, systems that had waited 40 millennia to complete their purpose. Transfer at 80%. The new field is almost ready. The whole facility shook as ancient machines worked with modern technology to rebuild the walls of the Void's prison. Look, Reed pointed to their sensors. The tiers in space around Earth were closing, sealed by the new containment field. The Void fought against its new cage, but the power of an entire star system proved too much even for it. It's working. Transfer at 95%. The central system's sun gave its final light as the collectors finished their work. Darkness fell across the abandoned planets, but in the human facility deep beneath Earth's surface, light blazed as 40,000 years of planning came to fruition. Transfer complete. Tom's voice was triumphant. New containment field at full power. The darkness that had broken free was forced back into its prison, sealed behind walls of energy that would last until the end of time. As the emergency lights came on and the machinery settled into a steady hum, Marcus looked at the readings with tears in his eyes. Containment field is stable. Power levels are self-sustaining. He touched the ancient human console gently. They did it. They knew exactly what needed to be done. They just needed us to finish it. Reed's crystals glowed softly in the dim light. They sacrificed everything to give us a chance, and we proved worthy of their trust. She brought up the final screen, where a message had appeared in both human language and their own. Containment protocols complete. The void is sealed. Humanity's watch has ended. In the darkness of the empty central system, 10 billion refugees began their journey to new homes. They had lost everything, just as humanity had before them. But they had gained something too. An understanding of the sacrifice that had protected them for 40,000 years, and the honor of completing humanity's final mission. Deep beneath Earth's surface, in the city humanity had built, new guardians took up the watch. The warning to run had served its purpose. Now it was time for a new message, one that would tell future generations not just of the danger that had been contained, but of the two civilizations that had given up everything to contain it.